it's Jessica DaMassa. I'm here at Giant Health. Joining me right now, I have Sebastian Yuen. He is a pediatrician and he is the UK lead for Genius School. So Sebastian, happy to have you here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great. So this is really interesting. So I wanted to just jump right in and talk a little bit about your experience. So you're a pediatrician. You're a doctor that went through a burnout phase, and now you're working for this organization, Genius School.
Yep.
So I want to talk through that because I'm curious about, first, the burnout part of this, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit of your story, and then how we connect that to what you're doing with the Genius School, because I think that this is really remarkable how you've kind of turned this really negative thing into a very positive thing that you're doing. So tell me a little bit about what happened from the burnout perspective.
Well, thank you, Jessica. So I'm a pediatrician, full-time pediatrician still, and I've always wanted to make a difference and to help children. And I trained in medical education and then had a one-year fellowship with the NHS Institute for Innovation and Improvement, and I spent 10 years trying to change the system, and it is so difficult. And what I learned at the end of all of that is that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and I had a year of burnout.
Oh, geez. So, okay, so I think that this is a story that a lot of people can kind of relate to, especially when they're trying to drive transformation into the healthcare system. And so, I guess one of the things I want to ask you right there was, what was the biggest problem that you encountered with the culture when you were trying to change things?
Well, sometimes in organizations, there's lots of processes and governance and resistance to change, and sometimes in more struggling organizations it can be difficult to get the staff to motivate and engage with the staff, particularly if the top leadership have got their own priorities of inspections and regulators and finance problems. So and I think a lot of the community that I was working with at the time left posts, and my morale started dropping, my confidence started dropping, and it all started tumbling in.
I mean, I want to talk more about that feeling of like your morale just kind of dropping. Like, talk to me a little bit about how you felt. Like, was it really because you were trying to push change into there? Had you lost like faith in the future of medicine? I mean, tell me a little bit more about how you were feeling.
These were dark times. So I'd come to conferences like Giant and Exponential Medicine, and I'd be inspired, and I'd hang out with amazing people, and I had clarity about the future, and people told me I inspired them, and I had a clear purpose about what could be achieved, and then I tried to bring that back to organizations that weren't really able to go with me on that journey. They weren't curious about it, they weren't supportive, and I wasn't able to make the traction I had previously. So I felt more isolated, I felt that I didn't fit in, I felt a square peg in a round hole, and it just became an increasing battle, and I just got lower and lower.
So tell me about Genius School then, and like, how did you, like, is this the thing that I guess turned it around for you? Like, what did you decide to do? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, not only other physicians with burnout, but other entrepreneurs, other health innovators who are like, oh my gosh, I totally feel the same way. It's like, I've got this great vision, I've got these great ideas, I get so inspired, and then I go home and I'm in the day-to-day and we're still faxing things. People are so miserable. I still can't get all the information I need to make good decisions. The cost of care is still too high, all these burdens, right? Yeah. So what is your advice, I guess? Like, I mean, and tell us a little bit about what you did.
So I think that's so true that people often go off to fellowships or to conferences and they get these new ideas, and then when they come back, if there's not a supportive environment that helps implement some of those things, even in a small way, then people can lose that very quickly. For me, this has been a whole year of transformation, starting with coming back from a year off work, then divorce, amicable divorce, and I chose to go on an entrepreneur training camp. I thought it'd be a bit of a holiday. It was run by Roger James Hamilton in Bali. I thought this would be fun. And that was in July, the first 2 weeks of July, and it was absolutely fascinating. It was, we started at 6 each morning with yoga or meditation, had really healthy food, staying in a beautiful place. But what they took us on was a journey through understanding better our personality types. And I'd done that before with Myers-Briggs, I'm ENTP, but this helped us understand what type I am. So I'm a star, and what they said was you need a deal maker and you need a lord to help you. So it's about how do you build better teams, and these are some of the ingredients that I'll be talking about later in Genius School. So I had a better understanding of who I was, and they gave us some tools to take us through how does an entrepreneur think, what are the steps they need to go through, and first of all, I realized I had to sort out my basic organization, so that was really interesting. And then before even I could become an entrepreneur, they said you need to be at the worker level. And so my mind was getting really fried. I was thinking, I've got all these new ways of being, new ways of thinking. What I clearly got was purpose, and my purpose was to eliminate self-harm in children. And once you've got a purpose, it makes everything else much more simple. But they told me, you need to be a worker. I went out of the meeting room, crossed over the courtyard to where we ate, and someone said, I need to talk to you about Genius School. And what Roger James Hamilton says is, once you know the what and the when, the who and how show up, and that blew me away. Like, there were a lot of things.
Literally.
There were a lot of things that blew me away in that 2 weeks. It was really intense.
Awesome. So tell me about Genius School then. I want to just jump right into that.
Yeah. So Genius School is a bit like the personal development courses that we go on, like that one that we do as adults, but they do it for children. And it has been run 4 or 5 times around the world: Las Vegas, New Zealand, Australia, and I'm going to start in UK in January.
Oh, fantastic.
So one thing I'm going to do with is I've got partners now. So I've got Joel and Claire and their daughter Jade. She was 14, and what's fascinating about her is she had self-harm and emotional problems and was suicidal at the age of in primary school, and her mum helped turn that round. And her passion was to do pageants, beauty pageants, and following her coming out of that, a couple of years of really dark times, she's been teaching children in primary school in UK. She's gone to nearly 50 schools and been inspiring children, and she's been up for a National Diversity Award and on TV, and now she's just won her first beauty pageant, and it's such a moving story.
Oh, how incredible. I mean, what's really, I think, remarkable about this whole thing and these specific anecdotes that you're sharing is that it's like this really, I mean, it's almost like what you experienced, the kind of mental health crisis that contributed to the burnout that you were feeling, that led you to go to your own version of Genius School, and then now you're involved with Genius School and kind of helping children who are dealing with these same struggles from a mental health perspective to do no harm to themselves by finding their passion. So it's very interesting how this has like managed to just create a ripple effect from your life. So that's beautiful. If people want to find out about Genius School and get involved, how do they do that? Can they find it on the web, or what's the right way to get a hold of you?
So this is a real startup. We're starting in January. We're building the website now, but they can contact me, Sebastian Yuen, at Sebster, that's S3BSTER on Twitter. But I'll be sharing lots of information later, and I'll probably, if this goes online, I can put some links around that.
Fantastic. Well, good. Well, Sebastian, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I mean, it's really remarkable how you turned something that, could have become, was negative, but could have become even more negative into something that has really become so positive. So best of luck with Genius School. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to an update and hearing how everything goes. I'm Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health here at Giant Health. Thanks for joining us.